Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Break the Fake, where we debunk fake news and combat false narratives. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and let's get rolling. Maria Zakharova, the face of the Russian Foreign Ministry and the national champion of the phrase "we have been misunderstood," has shown that her talents extend beyond verbal gymnastics. While ordinary Russians count their rubles after yet another round of import substitution, Zakharova is busy calculating the floor space in her new 150 square meter apartment in central Moscow. Apparently, that's what diplomatic success looks like nowadays. Now, according to independent journalists from the Russian outlet Explainer, at the end of 2022, Zakharova purchased a flat in one of Moscow's poshest neighborhoods for roughly 1.2 million bucks. When reporters began asking about the source of her sudden prosperity, the apartment quietly vanished from the public registry, only to reappear again under her father's last name. Now, the move was justified as avoiding unnecessary attention. Though in Moscow's luxury real estate market, hiding an apartment like that is like hiding an elephant under a blanket. And that apartment isn't her only income source. Zakharova earns between $7,000 to $10,000 a month at the Foreign Ministry, plus a second paycheck from Russia Today, the state media conglomerate, where she doesn't actually work but still collects tens of thousands of dollars. Her husband, previously invisible in public life, has also proven surprisingly successful. The company he's tied to has received state contract worth millions. In short, diplomacy in Zakharova's household isn't just foreign policy, it's family business. Only instead of embassy, they open accounts. Before the war, Zakharova was known for condemning the rotten West, usually from terraces of Nice or cafes in Paris. Now that Europe is self-destructing, she can only lament not being able to see it in person. Sanctions, after all, have grounded even the most patriotic jet-setters. For most Russians, however, war means shortages, mobilization, and survival. For Zakharova, it means upgrades. Bigger apartment, bigger salary, and maybe a spot in Forbes' list of patriot with houses. In today's Moscow, everyone faces hardships a little differently. Some stand in line for buckwheat, others stand in line at a notary. Russian propagandists have found a new hobby, not just distorting reality, but creating it as well. A studio producing fake video messages from Ukrainian soldiers is now running at full speed. In these clips, Ukrainian paratroopers suddenly talk about surrendering positions and brotherhood with Russians. It's all very moving.
Я здаюся! Більше не можу! Мама, вибач, я здаюся російській армії! Тільки не стріляйте, будь ласка!
Мы сдаемся. Мы не ходим больше воевать. Все выходят.
Оружие сложили, дальше без него.
Нам надоело. Хотим домой.
Не опускай руки, держи выше.
Шевелитесь!
Вперед пошли, смотрим под ной!
Без оружия, все. Быстрее!
Шагай, Петро, не смотри.
Мы сдаемся. Оружия нет. Не стреляйте, пожалуйста.
Русские, простите нас.
Мы хотим жить. Мы поняли, что это все зря. Нам нечего здесь делать.
Народ России.
Now, there's just one problem. You guys saw that? Even this digital theater, the credits roll a little too soon. The clips leave a watermark made in Sora. That's the OpenAI's video model. So what we see is basically a fake soldier filmed straight from Moscow laptop pretending to speak from the front. Now, if you watch closely, the backgrounds are stock footage, the voices stumble over Ukrainian words, and the soldiers kind of blink like they're buffering. Once again, Moscow proves that technology isn't a weapon when it's handed by amateurs. Now, these results look less like military propaganda and more like some TikTok fanfiction. Propaganda filmed on leftover budget and borrowed bandwidth. Even artificial intelligence seems embarrassed to have its name on it. Now, speaking of faking things with AI, we've got another masterpiece of Russian propaganda that's trending on TikTok. Fake street interviews with supposed Ukrainians who all say the same thing, that they're against mobilization, tired of war, ready to make peace at any price. There's only one catch. Yep, you guessed it, none of these people are real. They're created, again, artificial intelligence. The formula is always identical. Journalists walk up to ordinary Ukrainians and ask loaded questions. The Ukrainians then reply in perfect sync, "We're senseless, we need to negotiate. Reclaiming the territories isn't worth the cost." No emotion, no accent, no real speech patterns, just synthetic voices and frozen faces. Looks less like a street interview and more like an RT segment made with rendering software.
Як ви ставитеся до Донецької області?
Скільки крові за них пролито. Краще відпустити, нехай собі живуть як хочуть. Нам би мир та спокій.
Скажіть, як ви готуєтеся до зими? Чи вірите, що у ваших будинках буде тепло?
Звідки взятися теплу? Електростанції серйозно пошкоджені, захисту на них не було. Як можна було допустити такий стан інфраструктури? Ми щодня бачимо наслідки.
Влад, забезпечує вас держава для захисту батьківщини?
Яка там допомога? Вони там у Раді кажуть, що даємо, тут нічого немає. Все купуємо самі. Від продовольства і далі аж до спорядження. Що маємо, все за власний рахунок.
Now, deepfake detection tools confirm the obvious. None of these participants are even real. Everything, skin texture, blinking, even sunlight, is generated. And naturally, they all receive the same script straight from the Ministry of Defense playbook. The goal is clear: to demoralize, to fabricate fatigue, and to flood the internet with fake Ukrainians saying what Moscow wishes actual Ukrainian would say. When Russia can't win on the battlefield, it tries to win in the algorithm. But even AI can't fake conviction. These digital puppets may talk about surrender, but they can't hide what's real. A country that still exists, still resists, and still refuses to speak in someone's script. Online sports betting, one of America's many obsessions. Every state's got an app, everyone's placing parlays, and the house is making bank. But while you're betting on the Cowboys to finally win something, guess who else is in the game? That's right, Russia. And no, not because Putin wants to win your fantasy league, but because the digital gambling boom gave Russian criminal networks a golden opportunity. An open, barely regulated financial playground where dirty money flows like cheap vodka. Meet Garantex, the crypto exchange equivalent of a mob run with a website. Since 2019, they've moved nearly $100 billion in transactions. Yup, that's money laundering, ransomware paying, sanction busting, war funding money. And it gets better, or worse, depending on how close you are to a federal indictment. The folks behind Garantex use every trick in the laundering book. Shell companies, offshore accounts, crypto mixers, pseudo-anonymous transactions. They've even moved their wallet addresses daily, like the blockchain version of a getaway car. Unsuspecting US companies did business with them, and your fantasy football winnings, it could have been laundered alongside cash for hacking ops, cybercrime, and even terrorism. All the while, Garantex keeps the Kremlin's digital war machine well-oiled, funding disinformation, espionage, and that not-so-little war in Ukraine. And they're not alone. Mixers like Blender.io and Simbat.io are run by, surprise, surprise, more Russian nationals. They provide privacy services for criminals and state actors. Basically, they were crypto laundromats. Drop in some ransomware loot, press a button, and poof, clean coins, no question asked. So yeah, this is not just some sketchy crypto stuff. This is economic warfare. The Kremlin's using Western tech infrastructure like betting apps, crypto platforms, shell companies to move money, dodge sanctions, and fund chaos. While we're betting on who scores first, they're betting that we won't notice our financial system is being turned into a money funnel for autocrats and cyber criminals. And unless regulators wake up, the House won't just win, the House will be Moscow. And with that, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.